In this video, I'm actually doing a reaction to Everywhere at the End of Time by Leland James Kirby, also known as The Caretaker. This is a piece of music that's making the rounds here online, as some people are claiming that is giving them a existential sort of spiritual experience as they are feeling like this horrific idea or this horrific scene play out of a person experiencing dementia, ultimately devolving into, forgetting their life and then their death. This is a 6.5 hour long suite composed over several years that I will say is a monumental task. What is there has achieved the effect. I just went through the experience here well, I just finished it up here about an hour ago. So in this video, you're getting the last 2 minutes of my reaction to it. I am going to post up a timestamp here. If you want to go and have this experience for yourself, I would click there so you can just hear my analysis of it, how I think that Kirby achieved this effect through composition. Yeah, I am a formerly trained musician, so I'm going to be trying to analyze this a little bit and figure out why it is that this song evokes a sense of dread, this sense of frustration, this high tension, this forgetfulness, ultimately emulating memory. What is it about this really remarkable piece that evokes the feeling of dementia? So let's get over into that. And again, timestamp right here if you want to skip over the last 2 minutes of this piece and then check out just my analysis of it. Fade out. I got goosebumps. I'm not gonna lie. Is it like a new theme? It's eerie. I mean, Almost sounds like it's getting a little bit clearer. Last like minute. Wow, that was the end. Okay. Huh. All right. So, wow, 6.5 hours, that is. Okay. First off, let me address one thing I keep seeing brought up about this, and that's people saying that, like, this is all composed, and, this is proof that there's some kind of connection with this and dementia or whatever. Okay, first off, this isn't all composed. Like, this isn't all completely original work. This song right here is called Willow Weep for Me. There you go. Remember that melody. Ya-ba-da-ba-da. So yeah, this part, B4, The Loves of My Entire Life, this is actually sampled from Willow Weep for Me. So this whole like pseudoscience-y idea that dementia patients have been listening to this and then humming these melodies that they've never heard before and yada yada. They've definitely heard some of these melodies before. I don't know exactly where all the songs are sampled from, but this one in particular I heard immediately and knew from playing jazz for like 15 years exactly where this came from. And they go figure, I'm in editing, and then I figure out that the main melody is actually this song, Heartbreaks. I don't know if it came off of this recording or not. Or Heartaches. No, that's not to knock anything. Compositionally, what's going on here, and what this guy is doing, what Caretaker has achieved here, is an experiment in frustration and tension with music. And what I'm noticing a lot is, and again, this is not a bad thing. I like this. I like this idea because frustration is an emotion, tension is something we feel, And this is really, really fantastic at evoking that feeling. I know some people have had a very powerful response to this. Me personally, I think I maybe came at it at too much of an analytical standpoint to really get the like emotion kind of response that I think a lot of people have. So what I will say, some of the things that I've heard, and I always think it's interesting to listen and think, what were they trying to do with this piece? So the ways that the Caretaker was able to achieve this kind of a sound in here, number one, we're talking texture. The very classic, I mean, they even say that Caretaker was inspired by that final scene in The Shining where they're zooming in on Jack Nicholson's face in that portrait, and it, you know, kind of gives this idea of like a misty, just kind of hot, I don't know, foggy ballroom. That is very, very much intentional in getting this, I guess you could call it like the liminal space kind of experience, where you feel somewhat nostalgic for it, yet you really haven't been there. This is something that they achieve with the vinyl scratch, with these old, you know, these old ballroom style songs, this big band swing, putting it in this, and another way that it's kind of ruining it into this idea that this is a dementia patient going through all this, is that we're all usually associating dementia with people that are more familiar with that, you know, time period, bustling 20s, 30s, etc., etc. Now, I mean, that is a generation that is getting way, way up there. You know, we're talking about people that grew up in the bebop era that are now in their 80s. So the people that grew up doing traditional, you know, big band swing, we're talking Count Basie era, like 1920s, they are up there at 100 years old. This is something that we're seeing a lot of people in that generation transitioning over to, rooting that style of music in with this sort of a thematic into this project. What this project was intended to do very much gets that feeling across. It's a good texture pick. Now, the things compositionally that are going on with this that are really kind of standing out to me. I'm noticing at the end of them, there's a specific cadence that I keep hearing. Let me find this. Ah, okay. And then there's no sense of resolution right there. So that's like a normal kind of lick that you're usually hearing in, like, you know, big band, especially listen to Count Basie. We're expecting that right there to go into another section. Usually this would be another A section, A, B, A, and possibly this, you know, big band style form is what we're used to hearing for jazz standards. This, you could almost argue that might be like a half cadence, where if we're talking classic music theory, this is a cadence that ends on 5. You want it to resolve down, but the fact that it doesn't leads to this idea of frustration, right? And that's one thing that we really very commonly hear with dementia, is that dementia patients get very frustrated. So this is a really effective way at evoking that similar kind of frustration that dementia patients feel, in not allowing you the resolution and almost making you think like, oh, I want this to go somewhere, or I feel like it should go to this place, but it's not. And that is actually capturing that, I don't know, that just pent up, like, yes, you want that release of all of this tension that's gotten built, and it just doesn't happen. Like, that was going somewhere. Yeah, so that sounds like a chromatic. Wow, wow, I'm trying to remember if he does this with Willow Wait for Me. Okay. Yep. Yep, almost just like right there, what you're getting is a very brief glimpse into where that song is supposed to go, where it's supposed to wind up, like, ending, whatever. You know, you get is a really unsatisfying blit, just like a quick little stab at what that next melody note was going to be, and then it just sort of fades off with a delay. And so it's a really cool compositional choice right there. So if there have been some documented cases of some dementia patients that have felt that they have heard this song before, they have heard these parts or whatever, and there's not some mystical connection. What they may be connecting here is actually called contrafacts, and these are songs that are built off of a pre-existing like chordal progression, which is extremely common with big band jazz. You look up rhythm changes, blues, just 12-bar blues, whatever. It is an extremely common thing to do with jazz. It's not like it would be very uncommon, especially having already known that one of these songs is just Willow Wait for Me. Kind of, I don't want to say with a lo-fi treatment, but, you know, Willow Wait for Me in the sort of destroyed and slowed down interpretation. It would not surprise me at all to find out that most, if not all, of these songs are just kind of sampled from B-sides of old vinyl, looped for 1 or 2 bars and then continued. And then some of these dementia patients that have actually heard these songs maybe have actually heard these songs and are getting, I don't know, just they are getting it to trigger from an old, you know, memory, or they've heard these chord changes before, and it's not shocking at all that they feel like, yes, they could hum these melodies. So we're also talking very repetitious melodies, and that is another way that you could say conjures up that same feeling of dementia, where somebody feels that they are constantly repeating something always, but they're just forgetting or whatever. It's just on the edge of their mind. They move on to a new topic, similar to how this one moves on to a new song, but it never fails that there's always some one particular point that they do bring back up eventually. And we hear that through like theme and variation throughout this piece. So you could say that the Caretaker was composing this much like you would hear somebody compose an actual like orchestra or like big long like the ring cycle. You know, this could be dissected as a fairly large portion body of work. As I mean, sure, you want to split it up into these 6 different pieces. That's totally fine. I'm curious as to how people would treat parts 4, 5, and the earlier part of 6, and how you would really try to analyze that from a like theoretical standpoint. I do think it was quite clever for the Caretaker to use half cadences, or you know, in these songs at portions where we're expecting the release of some harmonic movement in those spots to, you know, emulate the feeling of frustration. I think that's a big thing that people are really feeling from this, and why you see so many comments that say, I hate it whenever they stop in the middle of a song on this. He was very intentional in where he ended these songs. It was to get the most frustration and pull that feeling from you. As a composer, what you should be doing is writing your music to have intent and have purpose. And did this piece get that across? I very much so think that it did. Me personally, I would rather choose to listen to like Debussy or Chopin if I was really trying to go for that deep, more analytical or like emotional sort of an experience out of like a piece of music. I wouldn't really be listening to Everywhere at the End of Time, just sort of, you know, in me experiencing music for the sake of experiencing music sort of a time, you know what I mean? It's a piece I think I might show some friends and be like, hey, check this out, you know, if you have the time, maybe give it a listen through once or twice, see what you think. But in general, I don't think that it's a bad piece at all. I will say, just because I prefer to probably listen to some other stuff, that's not knocking this at all. I think what makes a really good and effective piece is if your piece achieved what you had intended it to be, what you had set out as a composer to do with it, and Everywhere at the End of Time most definitely did that. You do understand the model of what's happening over these, you could say pieces, stages, sure, we'll go with that, stages. 4, 5, and 6, get a little abstract and out there, which I guess is the point of a piece that's modeled after the stages of dementia. But you know, there are 4 and 5. The noise sort of texture, it just gets to a point where I was like, all right, like let's go, like let's get moving. And I get it. It's a frustrating piece. It's supposed to be frustrating to model that same feeling, and yeah. So that's just kind of my take on Everywhere at the End of Time. This has been an interesting experience for sure. The last 6 hours have been definitely a thing, I will say. The Caretaker, very interesting composer. I'll have to check out some more of their stuff, especially for somebody that's done a project quite like this, a 6.5 hour long suite just dedicated to modeling the experience of dementia. You know, just because I didn't really have that personal experience, that really emotional response, doesn't mean that others aren't, you know, justified. You know, some TikTokers might be doing it for memes or whatever, but I can definitely see how a piece like this could get that kind of a response out of somebody that has had a very personal and close experience with dementia. So yeah, let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. Go check this piece out. Some other YouTubers have been doing documentaries on this piece, so go check out their work as well. If you guys are new to my channel, I do a lot of usually D&D content, some music stuff, just some general geek pop culture stuff. So if that sounds like something that would interest you, why not go check out some of my other videos. Guys, I hope that you all are staying safe, staying healthy, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.